Hello, my name's John, these are some Warhammer 40,000 Orks, and you're watching Wargames, Models, and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be looking at painting Orks' faces and their heads in general. I have actually done 3 of these Orks from a previous video. I'll leave a link in the description to painting the Ork skin, but let's have a quick look at these ones. So you'll see that I've painted some of the details. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit clearer. So there we have a very basic paint job on the face, just adding those little details. So that's one of them there. I then also have this one here which has the open mouth, and then this one which just has the helmet and some simple paintwork on the face as well. So what I'm looking to do in this video is use the same techniques that I've done to paint some of the faces, so it gives you a bit of an idea on how I go about doing it. Rather than doing all of them, I'm just going to do 3 in this session. So I'm going to pick one of the ones with a helmet there, and then I'm going to go for that bare face there, and then as well as that I'll go for the one with a scar across one of the eyes. So I'm going to put the others to the side for now, and I'm going to go through the simple process that I do for these. So to start with, I'm just going to use some Corax white to paint any details that are either going to be white or I'm going to paint another colour later on. So this is going to be teeth, anything non-metallic, eyes, that kind of thing. So, just going to get a bit on my brush and put it on my palette next to me. So, I want to try and make this as clear as possible on the screen for you all to see. So, if you haven't seen the first part in this where I paint the skin of the Orks, like I said, I'll put that in the description. Through all of these videos I'm going to be painting different parts of this squad just so you can see the process that I go through, and you can apply it to many other different models and things. Just so happens that these ones are green. There's the first teeth on that one. The eyes are covered, so I'm not worried about those on this one. Then looking at this one here, we'll do the teeth in the same way. And although I'm only doing 3 of these Orks, the process is exactly the same if I was doing all of them at one time, but I thought a little bit of duplication of painting them all at the same time isn't necessarily something that you're looking to watch, so we're just doing a few of them. Apologies if you can hear my dog in the background. He's just woken up and he's wandering around. And as always, apologies if you hear any traffic in the background. So I'll do the eyes in a second. I'm just going to keep concentrating on the teeth for now. And what I tend to do with models like this is I have a very basic level of painting that I work to first, which I'm quite happy with, and then if it's a character or something a little bit more special, I might work a little bit more colour into it and create something a little bit extra. But for now, let's just get these teeth painted. Okay. So I've gone to a finer brush now, and this is where I'm just going to get a little bit onto the section where the eye is. Now, everyone's probably experienced the moment where you put too much paint on the eye of a character. Luckily with the Orks, for the ones I paint, they have red eyes, so this white is just to give a little bit of a base coat to to make the red a little bit brighter. If I ended up going over the edges of the green too much, what I would do is then just go over that white with the green, or wait till I've painted the red and then do that. So that is the white done on each of these. Now while that's drying, I'm going to get onto some of the metallics. So I'm going to use some Retributor armour to paint any of the piercings that these guys have got. So just going to get a little bit and put it on my palette. And then this guy's just got a earring, so I'm going to put that gold on there. And you don't have to use gold on these earrings, you can use a different colour, but what I'm doing with this squad is keeping some very set colours for certain things. So all the piercings, earrings and that kind of thing, they are going to be gold. Then other metallics are going to be a silver of some kind, which we'll have a look at in a minute. Now uniquely, this one's got a bullet casing on this earring. So what I am going to do is paint the earring with the Retributor gold, but then also paint the shell case of that bullet, the bullet case, whatever. And then I'll use the silver on the end when I get to that. So there is that one just there. Now this one has just 2 earrings. What I find when I'm painting, actually I need to do the tooth on that one, so I'll do that in white in a second. What was I saying? Yeah, what I find when I'm painting, once I've done the skin, I tend to like to paint the head or the face of the character I'm working on first. I like to get a feeling of a personality that comes out when I paint something. Might sound a bit silly, but I do like to have a connection with the things that I paint. And the easiest way I find that is to sort the face out. Right, let's just clean my brush, and I've still got some white on my palette, so let's just paint that earring as well, just with that tooth. Sorry if it goes slightly off the screen while I do this, as I rotate it around to get the brush around the back. There we go, that's okay. Okay, so this last one is going to have a silver helmet, so I don't need to worry about painting that for now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to let those dry for a second, and while they do, I'm just going to show you some other orcs that I've worked on using similar paint scheme, well, green skins rather than orcs. So here we have a night goblin, and the skin is painted in a very similar way. You will notice with these ones, let me just grab one of the ones I've painted here, it's quite a vibrant green that I use, and it slowly gets dulled down when I do different layers of washes and so on. So you'll see that there's quite a few details in there that get picked up by washes and shades. But there's one of those. And then, while that's still drying, let's have a look at my Ghazghkull Thraka. So let's get it in focus. So you'll see there, for the inside of the mouth with the tongue and everything like that, I've painted that pink, and for that I use Fulgrim pink, and then I will use a red wash and maybe a contrast paint to kind of build up any colour on that. With Ghazghkull, there's not much green on it. There's a little bit in the arms that you see kind of through it there, but that head I did actually paint that as a sub-assembly and then put it in place. But really enjoyed painting this one. And then while the bits are still drying, we've got one more. This is a work in progress. This is my Ork Weird Boy conversion. Doesn't quite fit on the camera at the moment, this zoomed in. But I really enjoyed painting the skin on this one. Still got a little bit of work to do to knock it back in places, but the face is complete and I am really happy with that one. If you'd like me to do a video finishing this one off, please drop it in the comments. I'd be happy to do so. But there's this character so far. Still a lot to do, but really happy with that. Right, so while I've been waffling there, I can now start the next metallic. So I'm going to use some Iron Hands steel to paint the helmet as well as the bullet on the earring. So we'll start with the bullet itself, which is only a small little amount there. But what you'll find with anything like this, with batch painting and that kind of thing, I tend to not do the whole lot in one go unless it's the skin. I'll then do other sections. I'll do maybe 3 or 4, just concentrating on one part of it and so on. And kind of, I'm babbling a little bit now, but I do get a little bit bored of painting the same thing over and over. So what you'll see in these videos is that all of these models will start to get staggered paint jobs. So in the next video, most of them will have their faces done. Some of them will have the next stage already done, just to give you an example, and so on. And I find it works better doing these staggered kind of approaches to the paintwork, but that's my own personal opinion. It's how I prefer to paint them. Now the skull on this, I am going to paint silver on the front of the helmet, but later on in one of the future videos when I talk about painting details, I will paint that and choose some colours for this warband for those details. I am thinking, because they're going to be connected to my Ork Gene Stealer cult, that I will maybe use purples or pinks to do the colours for any of those spot highlights or that kind of thing. So we'll see how that goes later on down the line. It's a few videos away, but already at the beginning of March I'm feeling that it's going to be a bit of an Ork month. So going to mainly look at painting some of these guys. Might do some conversions, some other builds, that kind of thing. But if you've got any suggestions for videos that you'd like to see, like I always say, drop it in the comments. I'm happy to make videos that people are interested in. Most of the time I'm just doing videos that I'm kind of interested in doing to produce. Okay, apologies if I went off camera at all there. Apologies if I'm babbling as well, but there's the silver done there. Okay, so the next stage for all of these, I am going to use some Agrax Earthshade, and I'm going to use this to pick up details, darken off the roots of the teeth and that kind of thing. So I'm going to put the one with the helmet slightly further away for now to let it dry, as is the one with the little bullet earring. And this is where the green starts getting knocked back slightly, and I will then go in with some null shade afterwards. But to begin with, I'm just running this around the edge of the mouth just to get a little bit of detail on the roots. Paint around the nose, and then on this scar as well, I'm just going to dab a little bit of this Agrax. And if I do too much, I can always knock it back a little bit with some green paint, so I'm not worried too much if I do a little bit too much. It's just a kind of add some depth and weathering to the model itself. I'm going to avoid the eye because I'm going to add to that later, but I will just run the brush there. So already you can see we start to get a little bit of depth. So let's jump onto another one. Just looking at my brush and realising I'm going to need to use some brush cleaner on this soon, some soap to bring the bristles together again. There he goes. Getting this just around the edges of the teeth, around the lip, and you see quite quickly how you start to get some definition in there. Get the nostrils done, pick up some details on the side of the face and the ears, and it's just about building up these layers. Going to go all over that gold of that earring as well as that one there. Just going to paint a little bit on the top of this guy. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that so far. So let's go for the last one with the helmet. Not sure if the helmet's going to be dry yet, but it doesn't matter for this stage. That's nice and easy getting the teeth in there, and then I'm going to put quite a bit underneath the rim of the helmet to act as a kind of a shadow to build that up. But you can see quite clearly how that defines the face really quite nicely. And I'm just going to use a little bit of Agrax around some of the helmet there, just to pick out a little bit of detail. And just dab some down the back of the neck and underneath the chin. And while that one's drying, let's jump back to the first one and do a similar thing, just to put some colour on the back of the neck there. And the benefit with the clothes and things like that, it adds a natural edge to work to, which is what I quite like doing with this. So we're just building that up little by little. If you're liking these videos, I'd appreciate a like, and if you fancy it, a subscribe as well. It's always nice to connect to people as well, so if you want to chuck something down in the comments, go for it. I'll do my best to answer them if I get a chance. Sometimes it's nice just to connect with you guys when you're spending the time watching these videos. Okay, so that is the Agrax Earthshade done, and what I will do now, I'm going to get Nuln Oil and similarly work through a few of the details with this, just to knock them back slightly and add a little bit of a darker shade. So in the case of this one, just going to run it along the edge of some of the teeth, just to darken up that mouth and the scar on this one as well. And then where I put some of that Agrax, I'm just going to put a little bit of this darker colour. This again, when I start doing the clothes, I'm going to end up doing a little bit more of this over the top. There's many ways you can be painting these. This suggestion that I'm working on is just a way that I do it, so you can adapt these techniques, you can play around with your own. There we go. So far, so this one with that helmet, I'm going to cover the whole of the helmet in Nuln Oil. So I know I've got some ag racks already on it, but the Nuln Oil is just going to knock it back slightly. And just going to run it along the inside there. When I do the video on the little details, I'm going to be adding some bits and pieces to the armour, whether that's some colour, might do some transfer work. There we go. Okay, so that's the Nuln Oil done. So the next thing, I'm going to use some Mephiston Red, and this is going to just add a little bit of detail to those eyes. Doesn't have to be red, but I like my orcs to have red eyes, and this is where I can completely destroy this model. I just want to get that little dot of red. That's that one. I'm going to have to turn it over so I can do the other one. There we go. So those are the two red eyes there. Like I said earlier, don't need to worry about the one with the helmet because the eyes are a bit covered underneath, but if you want to, you can try and add some of those. So at this stage, then almost finished, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some Ogryn camo just to do a few little light details on certain areas, and later on I might mix in some of the Ork flesh, but for now I'm just going to go for this yellowy green of the camo, and I don't want much on these. It's just so I can pick out a few little details along the edge of things. And what I would do, if this was more of like a higher status orc, I'd kind of consider using darker greens to denote their kind of hierarchy level. It's only a little bit just to bring out some of this shading that I've done. Okay, so there's that one there. And what I will do at the end of the video, I'll put some photos of these and the other three that I've done, just so you get a bit of an idea of what they're all looking like at the moment. Like I said, any comments that you've got about this, please share them down below. And then this last one, just do a little bit of work around there. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look at the three that I've done. I mean, some of the Nuln Oil is still drying, but there we have our 3 orc heads. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for other ones in this series, but for now all I can say is thank you so much to all of my new subscribers. Thank you for tuning in. My name's John, and you've been watching War Games, Models and Other Hobbies.